Hello, family, and welcome to another episode of Role Model Experts Cafe. I am your host, Dr. L, the Parent Whisperer, and today with me, I have Miss Konni Harrison. I am delighted to have had the opportunity to work with her and hear her story and what she does, and thought that it was important for her to share her message with you and for you to see how she shows up in the world. So, Connie, thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be here with us today. And thank you, audience, for attending and watching this interview. Please tell us a little bit about yourself, Connie, as far as how you came to do what you do and why you're passionate about it.
Well, thank you very much for having me, Dr. L. I appreciate it and feel honored to be a part of your expertise camp. So my name is Connie with a K, Harrison, and I got started in the investment industry. And what I was doing years ago, I have my securities licenses. And what I was doing is I was presenting new asset classes back in the early 2000s. And I loved it. It was brand new. Nobody understood it. So I took a great care in explaining to the legal teams and brokerage businesses, et cetera. And I loved it. I loved introducing a new disruptor, problem-solving type of answer, a solution. That quickly paralleled with being a financial advocate, because people didn't understand what we were doing and they didn't understand how it all kind of fit together. So I loved answering people's questions and I loved seeing the aha moments. It was near and dear to me. And I quickly discovered that the financial advocacy piece, because it was the financial industry, they were a little uncomfortable about asking questions. You know, some people felt like they should know what these things mean or what they don't mean. So I started creating workshops and interpreting the financial lingo before financial literacy came into play years later. And my mother passed away very unexpectedly. And it broke my heart. I was an only child. Well, I still am an only child, but I was an only child. And so I was the first one out of all of my friends to lose a parent. And I, fast forward 30 years, I have been the go-to expert for friends, colleagues, clients to navigate through these waters. And these waters being how to talk to your family about estate planning, and the buzzwords in the estate planning industry is advanced directives, and just making sure that everybody's kind of on board with what's going on. And as I took it very personally, I've created a course and a program to help families mitigate those conversations. Because I've seen too many times where families are absolutely torn apart because of some miscommunication that's happening with siblings. So that is my goal, is to keep families together.
Right. Yeah, oftentimes when it comes to finances, it's not something that is the subject of dinner conversation.
Right.
And as a result, there is this uneasiness both within the parents discussing it in front of the kids, as well as just basically having a conversation that improves financial literacy becomes really, really important. And if you don't get that practice at home, later on, you have to trial and error it with strangers and people that you have no connections with, and there's no safety net in the process neither. So it can become really important. And of course, the difficult topic, especially when we talk about estate planning, is the other end of it, something that you don't want to think about one day, possibly your parents being gone and things like that, and what may come of it. So it's not something that's in people's comfort zone, obviously, and on all fronts, basically. So I could see the importance of it, but I also can see some of the challenges that come in with this. Now, in your experience, when people come to you, what is typically the challenge that they're facing when they approach you?
Well, in the past, people come to me after a parent or a loved one has passed away. And now they're in the midst of grieving and trying to navigate the business of distributing assets.
Yeah.
The other side of the equation is siblings and family members will come to me because they don't understand the process. They're arguing with, their sister Sue, who doesn't want this, and they're arguing with the executor that's doing the best that he can. So all through this grieving process, when people's nerves are at edge and they're just sad, right? I mean, the grieving process, I love when they tell you that, you go through these 7 steps of the grieving process and you're like, fantastic. So you get through step 1 and you're rolling, and then you're down to step 3 and you think it's all great, and you get to step 4 and all of a sudden your emotions take you right back to step 1. So, trying to navigate that and keep those lines of communication open when your family may be going through different steps in the process, because it's not linear and you don't understand what's happening, it gets to be a huge challenge. So what I see is the after somebody has passed, and when that confusion and frustration and finger pointing is going on, just because they're in that emotional state to begin with. So
Absolutely.
what I try to do is I try to get people to take that step back and take a breath, and help them navigate through some of those conversations, because changing your narrative through these conversations as you're asking questions or explaining what is happening in the process is key, because you can't treat everybody the same. You have to be very cognizant of, their triggers. This is your family, so their triggers. What's going to make them comfortable and uncomfortable. So being, the leader in these conversation spaces, taking the time to take that breath, right? And adjust your narrative so people feel comfortable in having that conversation. Now, what came about a year ago is the Tony Robbins team approached me and they invited me to do a 5-day intensive. And I said, sure, why not? But what they were doing was they were launching their platform for online learning. And I thought, I know what I could do. I could do a course on how to help people navigate the conversation before the inevitable happens. So, so I got all excited and I put this course up, and I've got 2 courses. One is just the 3-step process, and you can stay anonymous, but you get all of the information that you need. The other course, same 3-step process, but there's also a personal consultation with me, so we can adjust your narrative and address the challenges that you personally are facing in starting to have that conversation. So I don't,
Yeah. So before we go into the details of your programs and everything, can you tell us what are typically the challenges when somebody decides, first of all, who would be the right fit to have this discussion? Is this something that you do, when you just get married? Is this something that you do with your grown-up kids, or how do you, or when is a good time to do this? And the second thing is, when people start having these kind of conversations, what are typically some of the challenges that you see they face, either personally or within their family?
Okay. Well, it's interesting because in the statistics that are out there, 60% of people between the ages of 50 and 65 do not have a will, and they don't have their estate planning documents in order. It's the younger generation, the generation behind me, if you will, that is on top of it. This is what we're doing. What gets mixed up in the fray is keeping those documents updated throughout your lifetime. So yes, when you get married, and making sure the documents are updated is a great plan and a great strategy, because things change. You buy a home, you have 27 kids, whatever the scenario is.
Correct.
But what I'm finding is in my generation, so parents who have parents that are going on to that next step, whether it's downsizing their home or
Mhm.
going into an assisted living, that's where the struggle seems to be. Because the generation before me, they didn't talk about money. No, we just do our thing and that's it. So it's been a challenge because now you've got blended families. Back when I was growing up, it was rare for a family, for a parents to get divorced until, we were in our teens or 20s. But so this seems to be the time where I am finding people having the most anxiety with blended families and siblings that don't necessarily want to deal with this at all. They don't want to think about it. So they do this, right? And then they think that they have a lot of time. I'll do it later. I'll do it later. I'll do it later. And then later comes and it's chaos and it's heartbreaking and it's hard to have those conversations. So those are some of the challenges. But what's happening now is, people in their mid 40s to late 50s are realizing that they have no bloody idea what mom and dad want or what's in the will. As we age, we forget things. I walk into a room and can't remember what I went in there for, right? But
Mhm.
what I've seen is a parent that promises a ring to 4 different people. So if that person passes away, who gets the ring? Well, mom said I
Mm.
could have it. Well, mom said I could have it. Well, mom said I could have it. So
Mm.
these are the challenges that I'm finding after this happens, undocumented
Got it.
loans and that kind of thing.
So, Connie, what would be the top 2, 3 tips that you would have for parents and audience members that we have watching this that they could take action on immediately after this, in the sense that, because I'm assuming that this is not something that you just do by yourself. This is something that requires, family members potentially or an expert. So, what are the 3 tips that you have for them so that they can take action?
Well, the first thing that I would do, or I would suggest you do, is if this is bothering you and you know that something has to be done and you keep putting it off, take a step back and figure out, is why do you want to have this conversation? Whether it's your documents or your parents' documents, why do you want to do this? Was there a trigger that you've seen friends go through this? Is there some signs of dementia that could be happening, that parents are forgetting and you're thinking, this needs to happen? So
Right.
really take a hard look at, and write it down. Why are you concerned about this? And then after you write that down, then you think, okay, so then the next step is to figure out if, if you're going to have a family member care for a parent, who's that going to be and what is that going to look like? Now, I
Mm.
strongly suggest that if you do have a family member that's going to take care of an aging parent, okay, that it turns into a business transaction. So my sister's going to take care of my mom. She's going to do all the shopping, all of the bill pay, all of that kind of thing, and make sure that she's taken care of and comfortable, get her to doctor's appointments. Arrange that in a business format. So she gets paid X amount of dollars per week or per month, or however you want to organize it, but
Okay.
have that conversation with your family, because you don't want the sibling that's taking care of the parent to get resentful. Well, nobody's helping me with this. I'm doing this all on my own, because then it keeps it very clear, because clarity is extremely important in these conversations.
Absolutely.
Clarity and transparency are
Mm.
certainly key. and
Okay.
be brave enough to listen. When you go into this conversation that half the family is going to want to have and the other half is not going to want to have at all, just be open. I think the most important thing is to listen to the other family members, listen to your parents, and create solutions so everybody feels comfortable during that conversation, whether it's a Zoom call or you're sitting around a table. It doesn't matter. But but listening is, if you're the leader in this and you're going to have this conversation and get everybody together so we stay together after something happens, listening is 90% of it. And don't poke your sister in the ribs when she's sitting next to you, because that drives her crazy.
Got it. Awesome. Very cool. Thank you so much. Those are really useful. And oftentimes people wait till the last minute until it's too late. And then it kind of becomes difficult to take action on these, because some of those questions that you just mentioned about clarity, and for instance, would be actually helped if you actually knew the other people, the other parties involved, and their role in it and all of that stuff. So, so I totally see the importance of that. So Konni, how can people connect more with you? You were mentioning courses and things like that, but tell us the different ways that you are available for support.
Well, I do one-on-one counseling after the fact. So I help people navigate through the process of getting those assets released from financial institutions, and how to talk to the family and keep your sanity and keep it organized so you don't pull your hair out. And so I do one-on-ones. I also will help you mitigate that family conversation, because a lot of times when there's a strange third party involved in this, people behave very differently, right? So I can certainly help mitigate that. And my website is kmhunlimited.com. I put my information in the chat. The PDF that the free downloadable that I put up there is a definitions page about what these terms really mean. It's in English. It's not in legalese. It's in English. So my Calendly link is up there if you have any questions. My email is in the chat if you have any questions. Please don't hesitate to reach out. I am here to keep your families together through something that nobody wants to talk about, and everybody regrets not having that conversation before something happens.
Right. That is really, really powerful. And I really appreciate you coming and talking about this important topic. For our audience members, please do go ahead and utilize the resources provided. Konni has been very gracious to actually give us an extra gift. So go ahead and check it out and reach out and set this thing in motion before it's too late. Be proactive. Prevention is a big part of Role Model Maker, and this is one of those things that is financial prevention, basically, and also making sure that your relationships stay intact. And I know that Konni has a big heart for that. So go ahead and take advantage of those. If you haven't already done so, make sure you click subscribe on the channel so you get notified of all the experts that come on, and you can take advantage and feel supported. Konni, thank you again so much for being here and sharing your wisdom and your expertise with us. Any parting words of wisdom for our audience members before we finish?
Two quick things. One, how your assets are titled makes it easily accessible or not easily accessible after the fact. And two, for everybody that reaches out to me via email, I have coupon codes for you for the course. So you'll get $50 off each course if you want to go that route. So please don't hesitate to shoot me an email. Just put Dr. L in the subject line and I will get those coupons out to you as soon as I can.
Fantastic. I appreciate it. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you, Konni, and we look forward to seeing you on future episodes. Cheers.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.